Hey everybody, I'm Zee Garcia, and today I'm taking a look at a quirky trick-taking game called Trickster, Champions of Time. In this card game, the players are going to assemble a deck of cards to play with that uses just half the cards that come in the deck, and then they are going to play a trick-taking game with those, following suit, trying to avoid taking victory points. The way you follow suit, though, and all the powers that are going to be triggered throughout the game are very different from what you might think of when I say trick-taking game. This is a game that uses that idea of trick-taking in a very esoteric and different way. So, instead of trying to explain it to you here, let's just go down to the table, let me show you how the game works, and we'll come on back after that and I'll tell you if I think it's a good one. So this is what comes in the game. You are going to get 14 characters, 14 heroes, and each of those heroes is going to have 8 different suits. So for example, we take a look here at the Witness, you'll see that all of the cards in this for this hero are the same except for the suit, their realms. All right, and this is going to be true for all 14 of the characters in the game. And so the power for this hero will remain the same, the suit will change. You are going to take 7 of those 14, and you can do this randomly. You can have the players draft whatever you want to, and you'll shuffle them together into a play deck, okay? This token over here is for the 2-player variant, so we'll just put that aside for now, as well as the other 7 heroes that we are not using right now. Game's going to be played over 3 full rounds, full hands. And at the end of those, whoever's got the fewest points is going to be the winner. So for example, let's say I'm going to be playing with 4 players. I'm going to shuffle this up and everybody gets 10 cards. So I'm just going to estimate 10 cards for each of the players here. And then you are going to take 6 of these and you'll reveal them face up into the trash. And those are going to be just face up, set aside somewhere that represents the trash. The rest of the deck we'll put aside for now. You'll have a start player and you are ready to begin. So here's how this works. Let's say this player over here is the start player. We're going to be playing clockwise. To begin, this player is going to play any one card they want to. And after they play a card, they are going to trigger the card's ability. So for example, let's say I play this Revolutionary in the orange suit there, and it has a power that says liberate, move a card from the trash to your hand. So I'm going to look at the trash here, and I am going to grab one of these cards into my hand. Now the next player is going to be following this card, and they are what's called the Trickster. I'm the lead over here, this is the Trickster. The Trickster is going to dictate what we are going for, what kind of trick we are playing. And they have 3 different options. They can follow the suit, the realm, the reality. And they would play this card, they would trigger the power on it, and they would be done. And then every other player after must play orange if they can. If they cannot, I'll get back to that. The other option, second option, is they can play a Revolutionary and trigger the power, which was the same as this power. And at that point, everyone must play a Revolutionaries. And if they cannot, then something's going to happen. And again, I'll get to that. The third option is they can do something that is neither one of those 2 things. So for example, orange, Revolutionary, green, Nomad. They'll trigger the power, and everyone else must play something that is not on the table yet. Meaning this player must play a card that is not green, not orange, not a Revolutionary, and not a Nomad. So a blue Magician would do it. And then this final player must avoid all of those things. And so the white soldier there would do it, okay? So that's how that works. If someone is unable to play, so let's back up our example here. I'll do that, Revolutionary. This player will play a Revolutionary, and they'll take something in their hand with the power. Let's say this player has no Revolutionary. They cannot follow this. Then they are going to take these cards and put them in their tableau, which is the area in front of them, in which they're going to collect cards ranked or organized rather by suits. And then they will be the leader for the next card play. They'll play one. This player would be the trickster and play one in there and set what it is we are doing. This is bad normally. You do not want cards. If everyone is able to play, by the way, then it is the trickster in that case that has to take all of these cards and play the next one. So the trickster is attempting normally to have one of the other players trip up and not be able to play. So let's say that's what happened. This player is going to play a new card. They could play, for example, an Explorer. Explorer says reveal the top 2 cards from the deck. Put one in your hand. And then the other one goes to the bottom of the set-aside deck. And this player would be the Trickster. Trickster is going to play Brigand. And that is also red. It says move a card from your tableau to any opponent's tableau. They don't have one in their tableau. Power can then be ignored. You must do it unless it's impossible. Comes back over here to me. Hey, look at that, I can play. So I'll play a Revolutionary. I'll put something in my hand. And then this player would play. They have no red. See that? And so they have to take these. Aha! And then they'll lead to the next card round. This is going to continue until one player is out of cards. At that point, and once you've finished out one trick and someone's out of cards, then any cards you've still got remaining in your hand are also added to your tableau, and then you are going to jump to scoring. But before you do that, you go around the table and figure out who's got the most of each of these realms, each of these colors. And if you have the most alone, a tie is not good enough, then you can get rid of all of those. So if this player ends up being the one with the most red, they can get rid of these 3 cards, and they will not count as victory points, which are bad, don't forget. Once that has been done for all the suits, then you are going to write down somewhere 1 point for every card in front of every player. You jot that down, you shuffle all this back up, and you play again. You do that 3 times. And at the end of those 3 rounds, then whoever has the lowest score is going to be the winner of the game. That's basically it. Just let me briefly mention that the characters and their powers largely revolve around moving cards from one place to another place. And so you've got cards here that take a card from your tableau, move it to someone else's tableau. From the draw pile to your hand. From the trash to your hand. From the trash to your tableau to the trash. And so on and so on and so on. That's largely what it is they do. But the combination of cards you are using will affect some of the powers involved and how things sort of flow around the table. So that should give you an idea of how the whole thing operates. Let's go back up top and let me tell you what I think of it. All right, so there it is. Let's talk about it. I'm going to kick it off with thematic ties. I like the theme in this game, though it's a little bizarre and really probably could have been anything. In fact, I know there are other decks, not from Action Phase, the publisher of this version, but from the same designer out there that utilize different themes because the game is adaptable to many different themes. However, I like what they went with here, and I like that they did not allow the theme, this idea of characters existing in a multiverse, to make the game feel overwrought with the use and the choice of keywords. And by that I mean the trash is called the trash. The pile of cards, the deck of cards, they name something like the deck of cards, you know. And I like that. Any other game would have probably chosen to go all in with the theme and called those things the reality and the fracture and the whatever. And that's just annoying. So I like the theme here and I like what they did with it. The aesthetics are fantastic. The artwork is just superb. I love the variety of characters that are represented in the game. It's really, really spectacular. And I like the graphic design in it very much as well. The look of the suits, the fact that they are both a symbol and a color, meaning they are colorblind friendly. Everything looks great and is very well done. My only concern, a little bit of a concern I have, is that the card quality is a little bit on the low side, and they'll start to show wear and tear on the edges fairly quickly in the life of the game. The cards are white edged, however, so that's good, meaning a little bit of peeling around the edge of the cards will not be particularly problematic for playing. But if you intend to play this one a lot, I would recommend that you sleeve the cards. Replayability, I think, is very nice, very high. they give you, as I said, 14 characters, but you only use 7 of those. So you'll be able to experiment and find the right combination for your group. Or just cycle through them or do whatever you want. You can draft them. You can pick randomly each time you play. You can do this however you want to. And that's cool. Now, yes, all of the powers are largely the same thing. Move something from one place to another place. But it's still going to lead to a different, to a somewhat different vibe each time you play the game. The game length is, it's pretty good. The box says 30 minutes. I think that's really shallow. That's not usually the case. It will take a little bit longer than that unless the players are very, very familiar with the game. They don't have to remind themselves of what each kind of character does, all of that. So it's usually a little bit more time than that. And the game length is also impacted by the game cadence being fairly slow. It's not the kind of game, like some trick-taking games, in which the card play becomes almost automatic. Like, you see what's led, you see what's followed after that, you throw a card out there when it's your turn, and it moves along. This one's not like that. That's not necessarily a bad thing. I mean, yes, the game's a little bit slower paced, but it's slower paced because you are thinking about how you want to affect the game, what powers you want to trigger, all of that, so I'm not saying this is a negative. I'm just saying it feels different than a lot of other trick-taking games, which is true for this entire package, really. Ease of play is very nice. They give you text for what the characters do right on the card, as well as an iconography, an icon representation of what the card does. So once you become a little bit faster at picking up what those icons mean, you don't have to reread the text. It's well put together. It's easy to play. Now, I would recommend that you play with the number of players somewhere in the middle. I would say 4 players, 5 players. That's great. You go up to 7, game's going to take a long time. You go down to 2, 3, and you're just not going to have the same experience. I don't like the 2 extremes. But in the middle, 4 or 5 players, yes, that works well. And then lastly, tactics and strategy, luck, things like that. I find the game to be a game that the tactics emerge throughout the first play experience, and then the more you play, especially if you're teaching it to new people, you'll have sort of all this knowledge of how to manipulate things to benefit you, and you can almost see other people sort of catch up to where you are, again, if you've played the game previously. I think that's good. I think this is going to have... it's going to allow folks to enjoy a lot of repeat plays once they know what the cards are. It's going to allow for a nice amount of discovery, even through one game and playing the 3 stages, right? That first stage, part 1 of 3 in the game, if the players are new, they're going to be a little more, it's going to be slower. They're going to be a little more unsure of how to manipulate things to work for them. But you'll get there, and I like that. So good tactics in here. Overall, I enjoy this one. It's a game that isn't perfect for me, and I do wish, for example, that the characters had more diverse powers. That would be a little bit more engaging and fun. And I do wish that the gameplay was a little bit faster, though I wouldn't necessarily shrink how many hands you play. That's the tricky part. I like how many hands you play. I just wish there was a way to speed up the game a little bit, the gameplay experience. So having said all of that, I like it. I would recommend it for fans of trick-taking games, someone out there looking for something different in that realm, And it's even kind of hard calling this a trick-taking game. Yeah, it is, technically, but it's a quirky one. It's a very different one than what I'm accustomed to. So there you go. This one's going to get a seal of approval from me. Certainly would recommend you check it out. Very good looking game. That is Trickster, Champions of Time. I'm Zee Garcia, and I'll see you next time.
Thanks so much for watching the Dice Tower videos. Find more great videos and reviews, as well as our top-rated audio podcast at Dicetower.com. The Dice Tower is sponsored by Cool Stuff Inc., where you can find great games for great prices. Cool stuff in stock. Check them out at CoolStuffInc.com.